Hi, this is David Baumblatt from Terrapin Leadership. Welcome to the program. Today, we're going to be talking about corruption in America. And it stems from different levels. Obviously, the number one would be at the government level. And it is one of the three pieces of the chair, the tripod, whatever you want to call it, about why America will eventually collapse, because all three are rising. One, as I mentioned before, government debt. Think of debt. Think of household debt as well. But government debt, we want these big wars. Trump wants to print off money along with the Democrats. This is not necessarily focused on MAGA or the Republicans or Donald Trump. We know that this is happening from the Democrats too. But anyway, the debt keeps going up. Number two, the income inequality. This could be a tough one. Again, the Democrats are corrupt, but I'll tell you, the Republicans love to push this thing called capitalism. This is not capitalism anymore. Anyone with common sense. If this system is engineered where the top 1% get richer and the rest get poor, that system's headed for collapse. So income inequality, and then the last is corruption. Corruption, inequality, and debt. Those three are rising. So what we're going to do is let's just first do a couple things in the news here, and then we'll go to the videos. But like I said, what I want to make sure is this is not a gig on Donald Trump and the Republicans. This is found throughout the government. And the point is as this corruption continues to rise, more and more people are not going to pay into this system. Hence, another reason why a lot of Americans are leaving. Well, what do you do when there's a corrupt system? Vote? It's corrupt. What do you do? It's an interesting question. I've said many times, America first in Washington, D.C. and voting, it's over. It's done. But as the government gets more and more corrupt and you continue to have to pay your taxes, what do you got? You really think voting when the system is already rigged? Sooner or later, it's going to hit the people. But anyway, let's go through a couple of videos of today. The one thing what we want to show is this is about China. But like I said, this is also about non-Western countries, and this is about racism. But this is also one of the issues that we're having in America, and that is we don't realize, again, how the white man, and this is how it is, the white man built this country. Hey, in China, you think when they tell me this country was built by Chinese men, this country belongs to Chinese men, this country should be led by Chinese men and not, what do you think I said? No debate for me. I'm just a guest. Just happy to be here, sir. I mean, that's it. Why can't we say that in the West? I mean, you could say that everywhere, to include Israel, everywhere in the non-Western world. But God forbid you say that in the West, that these countries were built by white men. Can't do that. And then we're constantly with propaganda that we're racist. But if you go to these other countries, you'll realize it's the biggest lie. It's the biggest lie. Look at this, just one example. Again, I have no problem with this on China, meaning I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's their country. It's their culture. So this is not a gig on China. My gig is on the hypocrisy when we'll say non-Western people or Jews, when they talk about how racist white people are. No, that's called hypocrisy. That's a complete lie. So anyway, let's take a look at this video and you'll see. But this is China. This is actually normal in China. This is not shocking, by the way. Just to give you context, this is a professional basketball team in China. And in China, like in other countries where they have professional sports, they will recruit foreigners. So some of these foreigners are Black Americans. Most of these guys, hey, no gig on them, but they probably didn't make it in the NBA or they got caught. No big deal. And they go and play for other countries. Well, in China, this is their culture, like it or not. If you don't like it, then leave. Anyway, here we go. This is a video right here. This is in China. This is the bus. Some basketball players are about to get off the bus. Nigger! Yes, they're saying nigger, in case you didn't hear it. They understand the word. Now, the Chinese word is hate but they understand, they know what nigger means in English. Nigger! 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 Get out of China! Nigger! 别他妈笑了，你个 fuck you. What they were saying, it's just a wacky world. I've said many people, China's like Willy Wonka in a chocolate factory. He's like, 你怎么笑了? He's like, what are you looking at? What are you smiling at? He's like, get the fuck out of China. Am I going to agree with that behavior? All I could say is, hey, that's their culture. Leave them alone. But now you can understand my point, and this is rampant. What do you think I feel if a Chinese person, and this is everywhere, India, that says, you white people are racist, America's racist? What do you say? You say horseshit. You say that's a lie. But again, that's their country, and if that's what they want to do it. It helps. I should do more videos if you're going overseas. Like I said, if you're a white man, you get treated good, but don't forget you're a foreigner. You're not, this is not your country. If you ever push up against them, start saying, hey, this is my country or whatever. I'm a white guy and I've lived here for 20. It doesn't matter. Or you hear this, we want to get to the subject of corruption, but I want to say this, but you hear this story too in the West, like I was born in the UK, or I was born in Ireland. I was born in America. I've lived here. And we're like, oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Guess what? And they don't give a fuck. It's like, I lived in China. They don't care. They don't care, which I get it. That's their culture. Again, I don't really have, and we're going to go back to corruption here in this video. Guess what is the biggest source of corruption in America that's destroying America? Well, it's our own government. It's our own entities. It's our own corporation. So I keep saying it. I'm not saying these foreign countries are our friends and let's wrap our arms around saying kumbaya. But I'm telling you, the biggest threat to America is domestic, which is another reason I'm censored. Hence, the FBI and the CIA, I would be more worried about them than the Russian or the Chinese or the Iranian intelligence agencies. I mean, it's really common sense 101. Before I end, I do want to do another comment. The only reason I'm highlighting this comment here is this is just so, let me bring this up here. This is just so normal what happens here in terms of typical Americans. This is the feedback I get. And this is what I talk about, possibly a possible civil war in the future. And that is, these are fellow Americans. This is just one. So meaning the same thing I've said about China. I don't think the Chinese people and the Chinese government are that much different. Guess what? We always like to say America, the evil is in our government. I'm telling you, the typical American citizens, I wonder about their morality, their ideology. Anyway, do a quick one right here. And I'm sharing this because this is normal. I get this so much. Hopefully everyone, one second. Let me make sure everyone can see that. Okay, yeah, hopefully everyone can see this. If you look below, this is Scotty, man. Scott, and again, the only reason, and I've blocked Scotty, I just can't argue anymore with these people, but this is a typical American. No one feels sorry for your poor decision-making. Interesting. I think what he's talking about is my decision to go into the military and the FBI. I shouldn't have went into it. I was debating literally when I was leaving the military not to go into the government, private sector. And he goes, I could care less if you rot in communist China. Well, Scotty, here's the point. Now, of course, if Scotty was just an anomaly, you'd be surprised. Scotty, considering that Donald Trump and MAGA are grifting in China and Boeing and all these corporations are making your products, Scotty's probably the typical Americans like, I hate China, they're evil. Wow, made in China? That's cheap because I'm all about the money. And I'm sure Scotty loves buying those cheap products. But is that the correct way to treat a military veteran? Guess what, in America? Who knows? It is what it is. But what I'm trying to say is, when I've gotten on social media, I've had an experience different than most Americans, unless you're on social media, to interact with a lot of American citizens. And I'm telling you, it is more and more dysfunctional. It's not good. Guess what? This system's going to get worse and worse. So let's start with corruption. Now, this is about the Democrats, but guess what? Before we play this video, this is about Biden, not like I was a fan of Biden. I mean, again, I'm not a fan of the Democrats or the Republicans. I did believe Trump was going to be a little different. And in some ways I do, but his nationalism platform is changing more and more to globalism, number one. And so we're going to play this clip about the Democrats. So they're corrupt. But I have to admit, I think Donald Trump could quite possibly go down. And I'm specifying economic corruption, financial corruption, insider trading with both him and his family. He could quite possibly take the cake. This is what it is. I mean, I could still say good stuff about him, but I'm telling you, I believe the amount of financial corruption that the Trump administration, the Trump family, Donald Trump has done with him and his colleagues and son-in-law to make enormous amount of monies illegally through the government. It probably could possibly top the charts of any president. But anyway, first let's go to this, and you could say, and the reason why I want to emphasize this too, let's just watch this video and then you'll understand here really quick.
Son, he did, and then.
Okay, so obviously we know who we're talking about here. Listen to this because it's pretty interesting, and then we're gonna go over it.
President Biden had said that he would never pardon his son. He did, and then he pardoned him. Did you urge the president to think again about that?
So just so you know, she evades the question. She should just come out and just say, hey, that's my son. Whatever, maybe she shouldn't have done it, but she evades the question. Again, it's not like I'm defending the Democrats.
Well, you know, Joe said in the beginning, I won't pardon Hunter, I won't pardon Hunter. And then...
and did you say...
And then the Justice Department changed. And I think that the process was not fair to Hunter. But then when Trump...
So what does that mean when she says the process is not fair? What is she talking? She's talking about the legal process. This is our legal justice system. And she says it's not fair. Well, that means it's corrupt, in other words. So remember, this is the first lady of a recent president of the United States here. It's not good, people.
Trump was elected, things changed. And we knew that he would target Hunter. And we just could not let our son go to jail on a charge that no one would go, I mean, no one has ever gone to jail for.
Did you urge the president to pardon Hunter?
Oh, gosh.
She keeps avoiding, but like I said, I'm not a fan of these people, but whatever. Just answer the question. It is what it is.
Truly supported it. I wanted him to pardon Hunter at that point. And I agree with Joe.
President Biden, for the first time in history, also preemptively pardoned other members of your family.
Don't worry, Donald Trump is going to do the same. There is going to be a litany of pardons before Donald Trump gets out of office. Same thing's going to happen.
Why did he decide to do that?
I suppose for the same reason that he felt that they would be targeted.
Because you felt that the Trump Justice Department would target them, or the Trump administration would target them. Are you worried in publishing this book that the Trump administration will come after you and your family because you've just, spoken out so much?
Am I worried about it?
Yes.
No, but they can, look, Joe's attacked every day. There's by negative things that are said by this administration. So I don't think it's going to change.
But you're not worried that this is going to, precipitate an attack on your family?
I hope not.
Okay, so what we're looking at is this. We have the Democrat president, Joe Biden. He would say something like, our system's corrupt. Guess what Donald Trump said? Our system's corrupt. Now, just so you know, and I mentioned this before, I was much more popular on social media before Trump got elected. Why? Because I would be saying stuff like the FBI is corrupt, and I stand by all this stuff. The government's corrupt. And when Donald Trump was on his campaign trail, this feeds into MAGA. Well, Donald Trump is now the president, so he now has ownership over the government. So now if I say the FBI is corrupt, well, that's Trump, and you get what my point. But either way, both the Republicans, Donald Trump says the government's corrupt. The Democrats say the government's corrupt. You got a former FBI agent, the government's corrupt. And like I said, I don't know how old you are. I mean, I'm 50 years old. When I grew up, I never really looked upon the government as, that wasn't what we talked, like there were always like a scandal here and there. But generally speaking, when I grew up, the government was functioning. You paid your taxes. And guess what? And you've heard this phrase called the frog in the boiling water. And because I've lived overseas so much, and I'm seeing America, the difference is drastic, people. Absolutely drastic. And so the amount of corruption that is increasing, both from the Democrats and the Republicans, because guess what? We'll go into this video. They both work for the corporations, and the corporations are globalists. they don't really care about the American people or this country. What does that mean? It's going to get worse. I mean, think about it. Donald Trump now is in his second term. I want you to ask this: debt, corruption, inequality. Is it getting better? Not like the Democrats did anything. They destroyed the system. And that's another reason, like I said, why, and let me go into this right here to explain corruption. Why are the politicians absolutely ignoring me? I mean, let's use common sense. An American citizen, military veteran, I'm on the FBI terrorist watch list. I've been flagged allegations, and the government is completely silenced and ignoring me. Anyone with common sense knows that's wrong. You don't need to go to West Point. You don't need to go to law school. You don't need to have morality classes. That's wrong. You pay your taxes to this government. That is wrong. I've said before too, it's like a woman having allegations for rape. Even though she could make it up, they could be false allegations, the man is innocent until proven guilty. But if she goes to every police department and says, hey, I want to report a rape, and every police department says, no, we're not talking to you, something's wrong. Because the police department, some detective has got to do an interview with her. It should be legally has a duty to do an interview with the woman. Now, it's possible, though, the detective could do an interview with the woman and realize this case is totally unsubstantiated, that there's no evidence, and he may preemptively close the case. But guess what? His name is on it and his signature is on it. So if anything happens before, it found out, no, this woman's case was real. This was who closed this case? Detective so-and-so, and there's an investigation. So nobody wants to put their name on my case, a politician, to go on, because they don't want accountability. So I'm going to tell you about corruption when we get to the video. Ask yourself this. You're probably a normal and American citizen like me. You assume that the politicians are in office to work for you. In fact, this is what I was taught at Harvard. Just so you know, the Harvard Kennedy School is the largest alumni of politicians. It is a machine for politics, how to get into politics. And it's all about money. So here we're going to do something. If you thought, so the point is you might say, David, why aren't the politicians responding to you? I'm going to change that question and go back to you. Why should they? Why should the politicians respond to me? You may naively say, but that's their job. That's their duty. They swore an oath. Are you kidding me? Now I want you to ask yourself, if I was a donor, we'll say I donated a large sum of money, like $1 million US. So one particular politician who I think this guy's an absolute scumbag now, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was one of them that I really push. I really focus on the Republicans, whatever. Not like I'm a fan of Democrats, but anyway, let's go back to Ted Cruz. Let's say I donated $1 million US to the campaign funds of Ted Cruz. Well, first of all, he would be on speed dial in my phone, Teddy, and I'd be able to do, boom, hey, Teddy, this is David. Got a problem, we need to talk. What do you think Teddy would do? Absolutely. But you're a normal American citizen. I'm going to assume you don't pay contribution funds, or if you do, whatever, you pay $100 here and there, not much. We are a corporation. Our politicians do not serve the American people. They serve the donor class, which would be in part the corporations, so we're special interest, all with in terms of monetary. Think of it like a corporation. It's all about the money. And what did I tell you about people in the government? It's all about a pension and a paycheck. What's the mission of the politicians? To get reelected, which is basically a pension and a paycheck. Are they gonna, so it's possible you're not a donor, but you have such an unbelievable story that if the politician goes out there, and they love to just candy up for the cameras, where they help you and then publicity, and look, it's senator, congressman, help this woman, help this man, and it boosts their popularity. It could be. So again, you may not be a donor, but by helping you, they realize, wow, this could really help my campaign. I could look like a hero. I could really improve my positive influence. That could be. My story, they look at and they're like, I don't know, man. I don't want to touch this story. The FBI says don't talk to this guy. It's not happening. So I want you to show that because it's part of corruption. If you think these politicians serve the American people, that's probably like you're thinking West Point graduates are serving in the military for duty, honor, country. Don't think I'm wrong. How many people, when I talked bad about the military leadership, looked at me, I was very unpatriotic. And then guess who came along? Donald Trump. And what did he say about the military? Horrible. And who did he get? Pete Hegseth, which I'm not totally against, but we'll do a story. Pete's a guy who supposedly, and I believe it, was accepted into West Point. He's like, nah, not going to go there. He ended up going to Princeton. So when I say these disparaging remarks about military leadership, people are like, huh? Go back to what Donald Trump said. And even the people, he's right. Our military is absolute. These are corporate men. They are not serving for duty on our country. They're serving for a pension and a paycheck. Back to the politicians. What is the number one mission? You learned this at Harvard 101 at the Kennedy School. What is their number one mission? Get reelected. Basically, pension and paycheck. Am I going to help them get reelected? My story is not like I want it to be, but it's very anti-American. Anti-American meaning corruption. It's just showing a lot of bad things what the American government and corporations have done. This is not a good story. Have I given money to these politicians? No, I'm just Joe Blow. So then I'm Ted Cruz. I'm, whatever. I'm Tom Kahn. Tom Kahn was another guy. That guy's a scumbag. So I'm Tom Kahn, and I'm telling you, why should I help out this guy, David Baumblatt? And you'd say, because you're a politician. You make your money off taxpayers. It's your job. If so, I could care less. Is it going to help me get reelected to help out David Baumblatt? I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, it's a very bad story. Does David Baumblatt give me any money? No. Fuck him. I mean, it is what it is. We don't have a country anymore. We have a corporation. We don't have a president. We have a CEO. And you are not citizens. You are employees. And the politicians are not leadership. They are management. Just like Donald Trump. He's not the leader. He's the CEO. Who is the leaders of a corporation? The shareholders. The chairman of the boards. And who are they? These are the people all in the shadows, all surrounded by a globalist financial entities. Some of them are upfront corporations, but the key is who owns these corporations in the back. That's our country. Now you might say, isn't that around the world? No, actually not. Different countries do different things. But I'm just saying that's our model. This wasn't the model of America to begin with, but it has transformed. Because remember, there weren't corporations to begin with, but this entity called the corporation has transformed our life, our propaganda. We have been influenced more. Like, who controls Hollywood? You could almost say corporations. It's all about the money. And what we're going to do is we're going to watch this quick video here. I know, before we do the corruption, I want to do this. This is a short little video, but it reminds me of my time in the FBI. And what did I keep saying? Just like I make the comparison with China, the Chinese people, Chinese government, not much different. What did I just say about America? The evil people are all these corporations, politicians, people in control, but not the good old American people. They're good people. No, they're not. I've said many times, just like the FBI, everyone's like, you hear this too from these politicians, but this is before Trump got elected. Now the FBI is magically fixed. And this goes with everything, this analogy. The FBI problem, again, this is before Trump got elected. The problem in the FBI is the FBI management. But those good, hardworking field agents, they're the good people. No, they're not. They're just weak people, and they will follow the orders. They will follow the orders and destroy your life. So this is just an example of that, but it doesn't really need to be law enforcement. What I'm just trying to say is, for the same little snippet I showed on X where that person commented, and he's a normal American citizen, like whatever, you made your poor choices, rot in China. Wow, I appreciate that. I'm a military veteran. Do you think that's pretty unpatriotic to say? So I've also changed my mind. I don't believe that our government is necessarily evil and the people are good. Remember George Carlin? Garbage in, garbage out. I truly believe, and this is not the time to do this video, but I believe biblical prophecies are going to happen. Remember about the great flood? I mean, if God would look down here, I want you to ask yourself, the common man, how has he been? Do you really think the common man is just good, righteous, and upholding? And it's only those people in the corporations that are evil. It's only our government, the high-level people are evil. Garbage in, garbage out. It really is. We have transformed. I believe that the common man has just transformed through the decades, and he has become, for lack of a word, we're just going to say unethical and weak. And these are the same people that are going in there. And so I say the same thing before we do this video, but it's the same thing I saw with the FBI agents. Some of them may not be evil to that extent, but they're weak and they need that paycheck and pension. And what does that mean? they will follow the orders. Whatever orders will come, they will follow. Here's just a quick example of this. And and that's what I said many times. If you do not support military veterans and you do not back the blue, I could care less. I'm not going to argue with you. But here all the time, we back law enforcement, we back the blue. Well, it's not in my case. And I can tell you something, be very careful when you do that, because it might go back in your face. But anyway, here's the video.
Maybe it's different.
So this is the video. You probably seen it.
Yeah, a lot of times you can.
This is the policeman stopping the woman with one arm. It's just a crazy video.
Maybe it's different because I'm a girl.
Hello, ma'am. Hey, good morning. I'm Deputy Gasala with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. Recently, being pulled over in the city of Lake Worth today. We're doing an operation for distracted driver, and you drove past me holding the phone with your right hand, manipulating that phone. I mean, I saw you with the phone in your hand.
Not.
So when I was in the FBI, I didn't work with police much. I was in national security. I'm just telling you, and I still firmly believe we need police. In fact, people would argue with me. I still believe that we need domestic intelligence and foreign intelligence. Not like I'm going to argue with you. If you want to totally abolish the CIA and the FBI, I'm not going to stop you. But what do I keep saying? It is bloated. They're doing more. We're going to finish this video, but now I want you to ask yourself, your tax money is going to this policeman. You're paying him. Your hardworking money is paying him. What do you think? Are they doing more harm or good? And what do I keep saying the same thing about the FBI and the CIA? This is what I thought Donald Trump was going to do. You could literally terminate 50% of the CIA and the FBI. Again, I still defend them. I still believe you need an FBI and you need a CIA. If you disagree with me, I'm not going to argue with you. And look, I mean, it's not like these people destroyed my life. I could care less. But in general leadership, but you could terminate 50% of the FBI and the CIA today. And of course, you try to do the best metrics to terminate, we'll just say low resumes, really the low DNA people. And you would do a public service. There's too many of them. Too many of them. Back in the same thing with Donald Trump, increasing the military. Have fun. Bigger military, bigger law enforcement, bigger intelligence. Have fun. But that's one of the things I've said. It is getting too bloated. But I want you to ask yourself, if this was your wife or your daughter or your mother, how grateful do you think you are to pay your tax money to this policeman's salary?
You want to just call this a day? Or?
I don't want to call it a day. You had a hand up manipulating.
You just said my right hand.
Well, I thought I saw you with your right hand. You
so
had a
you
hand
didn't.
up. The right hand. I saw you manipulate.
So you didn't.
With the right hand, perhaps not, right? But I saw you.
You didn't see me with my right hand.
Okay, so are you
saying that you saw me with my right hand?
I know what I just said. I know what I just said. I'm asking you now. Did you or not have your phone on your hand?
I did not.
You did not have your phone in your hand?
I did not.
Hand to God, you didn't have your phone in your hand.
Hand to God.
The other hand to God, you didn't have your phone in your hand.
I mean, a lot of times, I should do another story. Boy, I talk about the government, not the best and the brightest are not working there, but I don't know. This is a weird story, but we'll finish it. But anyone with common sense would have probably said at this point in time, you probably should just say, listen, I think I made a mistake here. Sorry for bothering you, ma'am. Go on your way. But they fucking keep going. And I've seen this, and this is with the FBI. You think the FBI is going to admit any mistakes with my case? They will double down and they will lie to the hand of God that this guy, David Baumblatt, is a terrorist or a criminal. They just won't. It's just the way they are. But anyway, we'll finish this video. But I want you to use common sense. Do you think it's probably time for the policeman who's on your taxpayer dime? This is part of the corruption. So I tried to relate it to high, and people are like, that's where the corruption is. It's all these CEOs of these corporations. It's these politicians. It's all these high people, but not the low-level, good working American people. We're the good guys. No, I disagree. I believe that the normal, everyday American citizens, garbage in and garbage out. It is what it is. But I want you to think about this policeman. What do you think he should have done? Probably should have said, I think I made a mistake here. Sorry, man. Have a good day. But he does. He doubles down.
Oh my God.
Cool. You got your driver's license, registration, and
Yes,
insurance
I
with you?
It doesn't bother you, huh? Yeah, a lot of times you can. Maybe it's different because I'm a girl.
Hello, ma'am. Hey, good morning. I'm Deputy Gasala with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. Recently being pulled over in the city of Lake Worth today. We're doing an operation for distracted driver, and you drove past me holding the phone with your right hand, manipulating that phone.
Okay, repeat. Anyway, he ended up writing her a ticket. She ended up going to the courthouse. Thank God there was a judge with common sense, and the judge threw it out. But the point what I'm trying to make there is, don't fool yourself. When we talk about these adjectives of evil, of corrupt, of unpatriotic, of who's destroying the country, now it is true, the higher levels you are in power, the bigger control and influence you are to manipulate the corruption. But the thought that the good, hardworking, regular American citizens are the good guys and the government's evil, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. It's what it is. It's the same thing, like I said, with the FBI. The FBI management's evil, but when you get arrested one day by the FBI or something, they're going to be field agents. And you might look at them and say, this is absolutely wrong. Why are you doing this? And they may agree with you and say, yeah, I really don't think I should do this. But they're going to reluctantly follow the order. Why? Because they're weak people and they need a paycheck and a pension, and they're going to do it. Anyway, let's look at this part, and this is the opening video. And this reminds me, I still remember, and if you guys are in the military, and again, anyone knows my story now, I'm 50-50 with military veterans. Like, hey, man, we're military veterans. We're brothers in arms. I don't know, it's about a 50-50 with me. But anyway, if you are a military veteran, you realize leaving the military and going into the civilian world, it's very difficult because, especially for me, I'll do video. Very few people had my military experience. I went through entirely 2 military schools. Military schools are even more intense. There's only one thing more intense than military schools, and that's combat arms. I don't want to go into it, meaning when you're in actual combat, like literally you're in actual physical combat. People may agree with me or not. I'm going to give you stories and do it. But anyway, when you leave the military and go in the civilian world, I transitioned to the FBI, which is sometimes you could say paramilitary, but didn't work. I really didn't fit into America. And so before we do this video, I still remember 2010, I'm about to leave to China a couple months. And I told this story before. I'm eating lunch with one of my West Point friends in New York City, and we're talking about America in 2010. And I said, what is America anymore? I said, we don't have any values. And I said, basically, America is make money, have fun, individualism, hedonism, just fucking make money, step on people, do whatever you got to do, just make money. And then once you get the money, what are you going to do with that? Just fucking blow it and have fun. And I said, that's not a formula for the future. And what I didn't realize, what I was saying is we are losing Christianity. We don't have a value system anymore. So this woman kind of hits on it, but she's right. I agree with her.
From Christmas songs, right? Mm-hmm. The old time Christmas, and we've allowed Christianity to be taken away, and we live in a world that lacks meaning. And I can see this just if you look at like 2 different Christmas songs, right? Mm-hmm. The old time Christmas songs had a richness and meaning. They were singing about God coming down out of his tremendous love for humanity to save us from ourselves. I mean, it is rich with meaning. You can just feel it. And then you compare that to Bing Crosby's I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas. And you're like, this is about snow.
Right. Yeah.
Christmas is about snow and presents, and you feel what we have been robbed of. Mm-hmm. And it is a tremendous sense of our own connection in the universe, our connection to God, meaning, purpose, and you understand why everybody's depressed and doing drugs and, hookering themselves and OnlyFans. And this is what we live in. Because we don't live in that Christian society that would guide us towards, if you're in a Christian society with morals, I mean, not a hypocritical one, obviously, but with morals that guide you and say, hey, money isn't the most valuable thing in the world, right? Then when you're presented with 2 deals and one of them requires you to screw people over, but you get more money, and the other one, you don't get as much money, but everybody benefits, your moral guidance system will push you this way.
So when I think about how to make America great again, I say this many times, faith, family, freedom, and you could use this for Donald Trump, and you could look at this subjectively and objectively. I'm sure there's some type of statistics to measure it, but faith, is Christianity increasing? Not like the Democrats did anything about this, but you would assume Trump. Has Christianity increased in America since Donald Trump? Maybe it has. I mean, my gut feeling is I don't feel it hasn't, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, we got J.D. Vance, who married an Indian woman. Like, yeah, man, that's great. Vice president, interesting. So anyway, faith, family, freedom. Faith, make America great again. Increase Christianity. Family, yes, I know it's uncomfortable and people are going to get very uncomfortable with this, but America was founded by white Western European men. This is a European country. I'm not saying it's got to be 100% white, but I can tell you something. You don't want to start getting to a minority white, but this is what it is. And if it's not a European country, and if it's not white, what is it? But if you're going to be a patriot, then you should honor our forefathers. Our forefathers never intended America to be a non-white, non-European country. So one would be, is Christianity increasing? Two, is Europeanness increasing? And yeah, I'm talking about DNA, race, people, the culture, European. Is that increasing? And three, freedom. And let's focus on freedom of speech to make it real. Is freedom of speech? I don't know. I mean, the censorship that I've gotten is out of hand. But anyway, that would be a marker, what I'd say. What's the mission? Because again, in leadership, I don't know what Donald Trump's mission is now. Why? Because he has deviated. This war in Iran, this is part of our mission? Really? So we talked about Christianity's falling down, and this goes into corruption. Why? Because what's the element of corruption? Ethics. We don't study ethics anymore. We don't. Even at West Point, they're not studying ethics. When I went to business school and the Harvard Kennedy School, ethics is a joke. Now, normally you'll get ethics from what? Religion, Christianity. Christianity is dead in America. A lot of things are dead. The father's dead, which means the family is dead. This is no longer a white. A lot of things are dead in America, and America's going down. But you have to ask yourself, if we don't have ethics, well, that's a good part that this country's going down. The war in Iran, everything. So there is an influence that's happening in America that is very, very strange. You think I'm wrong? Let's look at this video. Maybe there is an attack on Christianity. These are politicians. This guy, so Ryan Zinke, he's a piece of shit guy. Oh yeah, he's a SEAL Team 6 guy. This is another thing too. I'm going to do videos on these special operations guys. Not impressed. I know that you've been indoctrinated to think that guy's a Navy SEAL. That guy's Delta Force. That guy's an Army Ranger. Not impressive, people. We have to remember, a lot of times in the military, what is trained to be a special operations person is a person who's very skilled at a unique skill set, which is basically shoot, move, and communicate. But once you start thinking these are extraordinary leaders or minds, or even the officers, whether it's the Naval Academy or West Point. But anyway, Ryan knows about me. He knows about this big, tough SEAL Team 6 veteran. He knows. So a good question is, why would a fellow military veteran not support another military veteran reporting government corruption? I keep saying it. You keep supporting these military veterans. They don't serve you. Our military doesn't serve you. They serve the military industrial complex, which is who the politicians serve. That's who they serve. Keep it up and see where it goes. But I would just say the same thing you've been indoctrinated to say, diversity is our strength. Diversity is our strength. Why? I don't know. I was just told I need to say it. Otherwise, I'll get fired from my job. Military veterans, thank you for your service. What service? Protecting my freedoms. Well, you mean the freedom of speech? Think about it. Try to use critical thinking. Next time you thank a military veteran for their service, what service? Do you think Ryan, now Ryan is not a private citizen. He's a politician on your tax money. He has a legal duty to fight government corruption. And it would be nice. I'm a former military veteran, right? We support each other. Don't you think it's odd that Ryan knows about me and is ignored about me? You think he's afraid of me? Probably is. I'm telling you, you'd be surprised how weak a lot of these military men are. Most of them, I know it sounds politically incorrect. A lot of them are not smart enough, not hardworking enough, and not risk-taking enough to get jobs in the civilian sector. Don't think so? Do you really think the best and the brightest are working in our government? Really? Not it. But anyway, this guy Ryan, because everyone looks and says, that guy's SEAL Team 6. He's the baddest of the baddest, the best of the best. No, he's not. He's not. You'd be surprised. They're not very impressive people. Next thing I know, I'll do commentators when they talk about the FBI and the CIA. Not very impressive. The best and the brightest are in our private sector. Anyway, let's keep going. And when we look at this is what I'm talking about, Christianity, foreign influence. We won't go into the FBI this one, but does anyone think this is odd that these are politicians? What if it was replaced instead of Israel, I support China? But even we'll say an ally, like I support Canada or I support Australia. It still would be odd. Our politicians, like, why do you have I stand with Canada? You're an American politician, but this is normalized. Do you know how this is the frog in the boiling water? I look at it, it is so abnormal. But I think Americans are like, that's how it is, man. That's who we are. Yeah, you are. You're a colony of Israel, I guess.
Hi, sir. We'd like to ask CDR Ryan, why does Montana stand with Israel?
So we don't.
This is the big tough SEAL Team 6 guy. Not an impressive person at all.
We don't allow.
Wait. Stutter and Steve, we're asking, why does Montana stand with Israel?
I got to do videos on special operations. And again, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them, I am telling you, they are not in there for, it's just follow the orders, and they would never put their career, but right, this is the SEAL Team 6 guy. What are you afraid? He's asking you, why do you have Israel on there? Stand out there like a man, grab your ball. I'm telling you, if you think, look at Donald Trump. Many people look at Donald Trump as the best president ever. I've said this many times, and I'm not objecting it. He's never worked in the government his whole life, from the private sector. You really think the military is testosterone? Go to Wall Street. I guarantee you'll find higher testosterone in Wall Street than you will in the military. I'm telling you, you think you're like, what? I'm telling you, you give me a bunch of small business entrepreneurs, I will find higher testosterone with small business entrepreneurs than in the military. I knew this coming out of West Point. It's just changed. They're not teaching leadership. They're teaching followership. But this guy, SEAL Team 6, a senator, what are you afraid of? He should come out there and grab his small little balls and say, that's why I'm staying with Israel. You don't think it's an odd question? Meaning you don't think this is a legitimate question? Why do you as a politician have I stand with Israel on there? It's a legitimate question. It looks very odd to me. Why don't you grab your balls and say it? This is a little rah-rah. I've got to ask permission for my ball. Well, can I say that? I don't know what to do. No comment. Literally, they're not. I've seen in the military, they're very weak men. But anyway, it's another story I'll save for another time. Let's keep going with rah-rah.
You guys have a meeting in our office?
Yeah, we have a meeting with Stutter and Steve at 3
Have a good rest of
p.m.
your day. Thank you guys for stopping
Stutter
by.
and Steve.
Joining us now, Montana Congressman Ryan Zinke spent a lot of time in the Middle East during his time on SEAL Team 6. Congressman, how much of a hunting license, forgive the term, but what hunting license should the Biden administration give Israel, or should they give them no bag limit and say, go do whatever you want?
I think they need to give Israel a lot of latitude. But I think Israel has carte blanche to probably go against the nuclear facilities and damage the Iranian economy. We also need to do our part, which with sanctions should stick. Only if the United States stands strong and defends Israel. That's the big gun in the region.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned the word peace, which I always think is elusive in the Middle East. I spent a few years there as a foreign correspondent, and people say, can there be peace? And it's very difficult to have peace with people who have a sort of sworn ideology to destroy you, which is what Iran does towards Israel.
I guess this is why we elected Donald Trump. Wouldn't it have been nice if Donald Trump on his campaign trail said, we're going to go to war with Iran? At least say it. Don't you think that would be interesting news? Here's more about this. Something strange, people. Something strange. You don't think this relates to Christianity, attack on Christianity, which then goes to corruption? You don't think there's a link? I think there is.
I've known him for a much shorter. Now, you've known Tucker for 30 years. I've known him for a much shorter time. I used to admire him so much. He was very kind to me as a young reporter. He would have me on his show on Fox News, and I'm still grateful for that. But I have to tell you, in the intervening time, he hosted a man who said that Hitler was not the real villain of World War II.
Yeah, what's the problem? What's the problem on that? It's called free speech. Just like I'm not going to, we'll talk about this.
On his podcast and agreed with him. He had a very cozy interview with Nick Fuentes. The majority of his episodes have been devoted to trashing Israel for some reason, despite the fact that he says he's on the America First train. He said that he despises Christian Zionists. A question I get asked a lot, which I want to put to you, is what happened to Tucker Carlson?
I wish I knew. Like you say, I've known him for over 30 years. He worked in Little Rock, Arkansas when he first, I guess, was getting his career started. That's when I first knew him. Then I worked with him at Fox for 6.5 years in New York. I don't recognize the Tucker Carlson of today with the one that I've known then. And in our interview, I noticed how combative he was and contentious. Now, we had a cordial time. I don't hate Tucker. I like him. I don't have any animosity toward him, but I'm confused by him. And when we tried to converse, if I was trying to counter some of the things he was saying that are demonstrably untrue, like that Christians in Israel are treated poorly, I said, Tucker, I'm a Christian. I live in Israel. I've been coming to Israel for 53 years, since 1973. I've been here over 100 times before I became ambassador, and as ambassador, I've lived here for a year. So if I was a Christian living in Israel, I think I would know if it was really, really uncomfortable.
Yeah, my thing to that is, listen, before you support Israel and stuff like that, support America, support military veterans. How's this? Remember, I keep saying the frog in the boiling water, what you starting to see? Even in China, it's so obvious the influence that Israel and the Jews have over America. Think I'm wrong? This is an old video of the Shah of Iran talking about what's happening in America. How do you think, did this age well or not, this old video? I don't know how old this is. I don't even know, 50 years ago? I'm not a historian, but you ask me, you tell me, did this video age well or not?
For the interests of Israel? Surely, Your Majesty, you're not telling me that the Jewish lobby in the United States pulls the strings of the presidency?
Not entirely, but I think even a little too much, even for Israel interests.
You think the Jewish lobby in the United States is too powerful for the interests of Israel?
I think so. Sometimes they are disserving the interests of Israel because they're pushing around too many people.
How do you mean pushing around?
Well, pressuring. They have many means at their disposal. They are putting up pressure on many, many people. And at the end, I don't think that it will even help Israel.
Why, if this is true, why would the President of the United States pay attention to that lobby?
They are strong.
Strong in what sense?
They are controlling many things.
Controlling what?
Newspapers, medias,
Your Majesty,
banks, finances, and I'm going to stop there.
Well, now wait just a second. You really do believe that the Jewish community in the United States is that powerful? They make the media reflect their view of foreign policy?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They do not report, we do not report honestly?
Don't mix things, please. I don't say the media. I say in the media they have people. Not the entire media. Some newspapers will only reflect their views, yes.
Oh? The New York Times, for instance, is owned by the Salzburger family, who are Jewish. Are you suggesting that the New York Times is biased in its treatment of the question of Zionism, Israel's existence, the United States' relationship with the Arab world?
I will have to put all the articles of the New York Times written on this subject and draw the conclusion. You can put this to the computer and it will answer you.
What you're saying is that, yes, you do believe.
Well, let's wait for the answer of the computer.
Washington Post?
The same.
The networks?
Less.
I must say you are speaking with your characteristic candor.
Yes, if you like. I try to be candid. I have always been.
So again, it's like I said, living abroad, especially in China, it's very obvious. We're going to do one more video here about this, and then we'll get to the corporations. But the point is where does corruption stem from? Well, it stems from a lack of ethics. And where did we generally get our ethics from? Besides mom and dad, but a lot of that to do with church. A lot of that to do with church. Now, I have no problem with Judaism. I'm not an expert on Judaism, nor am I an expert on Christianity. But what I would say before we do this video is, if you're a Jew and you think, wow, I'm attacking you, I've said many things. I truly believe if you're a Jew, you're absolutely welcome in the West. And again, we have problems with other different subgroups and entities. I mean, we go on. But the influence of Israel, the Jews, and Zionism is, to me, it's the number one. This is where the FBI has totally failed themselves. They are the insider threat, and they'll never touch Israel as a foreign influence. Heavy on China, heavy on Russia, heavy on Iran, never. But anyway, going back to the point of Jew, if you do three things, I believe you'll be absolutely welcome. First, you have to write, this is a Christian first country. I don't mind, even in America, people want us, Judaism, Hinduism, Islam, but they're not going to be recognized as official religions. They're not going to be protected by law. There's only one religion where you cannot discriminate against Christians. So if you're in America or the West and say, I am fine, this is a Christian first country, that will help out. Two, this country belongs to the white man. I'm in China. I don't argue that country. Hey, Israel, does Israel belong to the Jewish man? I have no arguments with that. But if you're going to be in the West, and this goes with other groups, but particularly with the Jews, you have to say this country belongs to the white man. Three, you've got to defend freedom of speech. And I know, and I agree, there could be some very unpleasant, really unprofessional comments made out of Hitler, the Holocaust, all this stuff. That's what free speech is, though. It is what it is. And if you at least honor and protect their right of free speech, you acknowledge the country belongs to white men and Christianity, then yeah, there'll be no problem. I don't think it'll be. Now, some people would. Now, and if you look at those three things and say, I'm radical, then you're actually, then it's interesting to think, then what is America for your part? But I keep saying, how do I find America? Faith, family, freedom, Christianity, European, and freedom. That's what it is. Don't think so? If you disagree with me, ask yourself, if our founding fathers, and if you're a patriot, George Washington, who would he agree with? If you disagree with my definition, then what's your definition? And then ask yourself, if George Washington was standing right there, who do you think he would agree with? I think George Washington would agree with me. Anyway, let's go to one last video on this subject. This has opened my eyes. In China, they see it so clearly that basically America is controlled by Israel. But anyway, let's show this video.
Oh, Europe is dead.
What is going to happen to Europe?
Oh, Europe is dead. Europe is gone. That's part of the plan, right? Because Europe is the descendants of the Romans. And so the Jews want revenge against the Romans.
Just so if you have to go, please don't let me keep you.
Now, some people could say this guy, I don't know this supposedly professor. He's not really a professor. He's a teacher, whatever. He worked for the Chinese government. I'm not going to deny that. But let's just focus on what he's saying. And what he's saying is more common. Not as more common. It is common in China. They see it so clear, the relationship between Israel and America. So let's just hear what he has to say. My bad.
Of the Romans. And so the Jews want revenge against the Romans.
Just if you have to go, please don't let me keep you. You've been way too generous already, and I could keep asking you questions all night long. But you talked about it earlier about them flooding Europe with Muslims from Africa, and
the Middle East as well.
And the Middle East. So I've heard people say, well, this was a Jewish Zionist plan to try to dilute all the cultures so that they would be.
So again, I'm not an expert on this. I believe he's referring to the Kalergi plan. Is there truth in that? I'm not going to confirm or deny that. I mean, let's have a debate. Let's have open debate about this.
The one last, true ethnos pure state is that, and I just dismiss that as crazy talk. Is that? But now when I hear you say things like that, and is there more truth to that than I thought?
Look, I mean, it's hard to explain what happened, right? Because at that time, and I think it was 2014, everyone told the Europeans, don't do this because you don't have the state capacity to absorb these tens of millions of refugees. And Angela Merkel said, we can do this, man. We can do this. Have faith. And it's like, that's not a plan, right? That's a slogan. We can do this. That's not a plan. And so you have to ask yourself why this happened.
And I predicted Angela Merkel back in 2015. I said she's going to go down as probably one of the worst leaders in the history of Germany. We'll see how I predict. Horrible. What she did, she was part of that absolutely destroyed Germany. Another reason not to have women in leadership.
I mean, are they really that stupid? You look at Canada today. I mean, you got 10 million Indians who've immigrated to Canada in the past, 5 years. And Mark Carney last week went to India and said, we want more. Why is this happening?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but we'll see.
So what we're going to do is the final one, we're going to get to the corporations. Why? Because this is where the corruption is. So first, we're starting with ethics. And that's the number one. And ethics is Christianity is under attack. It's been under attack for decades. Who is attacking that? Israel and the Jews? I don't know, but it's worth at least discussing. But then where's the power? The power's not with these politicians, even Donald Trump. These guys are yo-yos. It's with the corporations and these global monetary elites. So let's talk about, interesting, this girl, I forgot her name. I just ran into her, but interesting. She's also left America. I found out about it. I think she's living in South America. You're going to find these stories of Americans that are leaving America are going to become more normalized. Where remember, when I grew up, the only reason an American should leave America is whatever, vacation, or I don't know, you're doing a special trip, but we're talking permanent leave. I never heard about it growing up in America because of that. You give it more time. It's becoming more normalized of Americans saying either in one way, shape, or form, this place is horrible, I'm leaving, or, just, but they are leaving for a better life. Interesting, she did the same thing. Let's focus on these corporations. And what's my prediction? Trump, as much as he campaigned on nationalism, he's part of the globalists. He works for these corporations. Don't think so? You don't think his kiss-ass time with Beijing and Xi Jinping, who did he bring? I told you. He didn't come to Beijing and say, this is my top-notch director of the CIA. This is my top-notch director of the FBI. He's like, you dumb bozo, stay in America. I don't need you. He brought the corporations. That's the leadership. That's who owns you. That's who our masters are, these corporations. Anyway, let's see what she has to say. This is the last video.
Building in Silicon, people that are building in Silicon, in Silicon Valley have tons of business interests in China. I mean, Elon Musk is a perfect example, but also.
If you remember when I first came out, people were like, China, you're a traitor. China's evil. And what did I say? I wrote this in my book. I said, what? I said, do you realize how much these American corporations love China? Because they love money. And you don't think Donald, and I even said the Democrat, I did videos on Gavin Newsom going to China, kissing ass to Xi Jinping. And they said, look at the Democrats. They kiss ass to China. The Republicans do it. You don't think it would, there's a lot of dumb MAGA people like, dude, Donald Trump went to China and he was the master of ceremony, man. He was the boss. No, he wasn't. Like, what video are you looking at? If he was the boss, then Xi Jinping would be flying to Beijing or flying to Washington, D.C., number one. But Donald Trump, the Republicans, the same as the Democrats, went to China with the corporations to kiss ass because they want money. I've seen this for over decades now in China. So as much as you say China's the enemy and you continue to buy your cheap made in China products by these corporations, you reevaluate what you're talking about.
Google, also Microsoft, like all of these guys, it's the same mob. Like, why was Epstein on the very important Microsoft Russia trip?
Jesus, that's my professor from Harvard right there. What a group.
In 1998, and he's pictured in Russian classrooms with top Microsoft.
So we have Judith Jamp. They have no money. Judith, I assume you're talking about China, and I would say, nope, you're wrong. They have a lot of money.
Top executives presumably looking for young talent.
Trump just landed in Beijing today, right now. He flew to China on Air Force One with Elon Musk, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, Tim Cook of Apple, Larry Fink of BlackRock, David Solomon of Goldman Sachs, Steven Schwartzman of Blackstone, and more than a dozen other top U.S. executives. He is asking President Xi to open up China so these businessmen can, in his words, work their magic. Whitney Webb has been documenting this exact network for years. Here is the post, what is actually happening, and what she has said about it. CNBC incorrectly reported that the great Jensen Huang of NVIDIA.
Now remember, this guy Jensen Huang, he's Chinese. And as much as he likes to pound his chest that he's an American citizen, He's Chinese. Not like it's a big deal. All these globalists, like even I did the Peter Thiel move to Argentina. I mean, even if you are a white person, European, when you have them, I see it's hard to understand to the people. I don't want to do tangents here. We don't have that much time. We're just going to keep it simple. When you become a billionaire, you have so much money and so much power. The concept of a nation state and you with that one passport, they have many passports, having to belong to this one nation, support this one nation, be loyal to this one nation is like almost like trying to go back to the Stone Age. It's like I am a billionaire. I run a globalist corporation. I need people from around the world. My corporations around the world. I have houses around the world. I have citizenships around the world. I have relationships around the world. It is insulting for you to tell me, a billionaire, I am part of the world leadership, that I have to be anchored to one country and have to be loyal to one country. I have customers. I'm a businessman. This concept of patriotism is so blasé. And I think to the most commoners, where to the normal American, 1 million US is a lot of money. In a way, that's hitting the lottery. Do you understand what billions of dollars are? Meaning it changes your entire mindset. So as much as I said, hey, this guy Jensen Huang, he's Chinese, and then even if you're a white guy, like Peter Thiel is a white guy, I mean, once you get like Donald Trump, once you get into that realm of billionaires, I don't think people, and we've done this too in the FBI when we study people in terms of when money comes into their life, how unethical they become. Because most Americans, you are, for like a better reason or not, you're sort of locked into your life and you follow the rules because it's survival. Like, I got to get to my job. I got to make ends meet. And you're sort of locked in and you're kind of that drone. It is what it is. Once you have that much money, you start truly believing, whether it's true or not, you're part of the Illuminati. These rules don't apply to you. I mean, do you understand what $1 billion is? I mean, most people don't understand. $5 million to the regular American, that's like, you'll never have to work again. I mean, think about it. That's like a Hollywood life, $5 million. Now, we're not saying you're going to really be able to control people, but for $5 million, you're going to be technically free. But $1 billion? Do you realize how much power that is? That's not normal. It does affect people's minds. So if you think, yeah, but that person was born in America and they have an American passport and they're loyal to America. They're like, dude, these guys are having dinner with Xi Jinping one time. Then they're down in India. Then they're in Saudi Arabia. They're around the world. The concept that they have to belong in terms of loyalty to one country, they would look at you and say, go fuck yourself. I mean, literally, I don't think the typical American understands not just what type of money you have, what type of power you have when you get in the billions. These people truly are, in some ways, truly like the Illuminati. We are just peasants to these people. It's hard for us to understand them, and it's hard for them to understand us.
Was not invited to the incredible gathering of the world's greatest businessmen and women proudly going to China. In actuality, Jensen is currently on Air Force One, and unless I ask him to leave, which is highly unlikely, CNBC's reporting is incorrect, or as they say in politics, fake news. It is an honor to have Jensen, Elon, Tim Apple, Larry Fink, Steven Schwartzman, Kelly Ortberg of Boeing, Brian Sykes of Cargill, Jane Fraser of Citi, Larry Culp of GE Aerospace, David Solomon of Goldman Sachs, Sanjay Mehrotra of Micron, Cristiano Amon of Qualcomm, and many others journeying to the great country of China, where I will be asking President Xi, a leader of extraordinary distinction, to open.
I want to see, notice he's emphasizing his corporations. He's really not emphasizing his government officials. They're all yo-yos. I mean, really is. I've said many times, the CIA and the FBI are not running the world. They are the muscle. They are the henchmen. They are the soldiers. They are the operatives. Important and powerful. I'm not saying that. These are the people that are controlling us. Trump brought his posse. And what is his posse? They are the globalist businessmen. They are the corporations. And he went to China to kiss ass. Anyone with common sense. Now, I'm different. My views of fascism have changed. But if we've been indoctrinated into America, remember Adolf Hitler, fascism is evil. Whatever you want to call China communism, we should not do any work there at all. You as an American citizen should not buy any of your products in China, but you don't give a shit. You say, this is what I keep saying about the corporate. Most Americans would be like, dude, you could, if there was a better iPhone made in North fucking Korea and it said, this iPhone is at 50% off discounts, but it was made in North Korea under slave labor where we torture the workers. I think most Americans would be like, I don't give a fuck. Literally, I want you to use that example. This is how retarded, self-righteous Americans are. China's evil. Why are you in China? I work for Apple in China too. But I want you to ask yourself, North Korea makes some type of iPhone at 50% discount on slave labor, literally slave labor. What do you think most Americans would do? Do you think they would boycott it? I don't think so. I think they'd buy it. I think they'd say, I don't give a fuck. It's cheap. This is who we are. And who influenced us? People say China's influencing us. No, I'd say the corporations are. Perhaps Israel, who knows? I mean, I'm not going to tell. I mean, I still believe Israel is the most powerful foreign influence, even though these corporations are all globalists. So I don't consider any of these corporations American at that. What is an American corporation? These corporations are globalists, but that's who's influenced us. But I want you to ask yourself, if there was a product that is highly sought after, we'll just say the iPhone, 50% discount, but oh, by the way, manufactured in North Korea by slave labor. I want you to ask yourself as an American, what do you think most Americans would do? I think they would not give a fuck. Don't care. They would just say 50% off, and you interview and say, excuse me, I just want to know that this was made in North Korea, slave labor. Yeah, but it's an iPhone, right? It's the same quality. Yeah, same quality. So it's an iPhone, same quality. 50% off, 50% off. Think about if it was a higher value, like automobiles or whatever, the more money. You know what I think Americans would say? I don't know, dude. I'm buying it. It's a good reflection on who we are as an America. This goes to corruption. This goes to ethics. Where are our ethics in America? What do I keep saying? Christianity is dead in America. European is dead. We are no longer a white country in America. We're dead. Freedom of speech is dead in America. We'll see where this goes. If anyone disagrees, then we'll see. We'll see where this goes in the future.
Open up China so that these brilliant people can work their magic and help bring the People's Republic to an even higher level. In fact, I promise that when we are together, which will be in a matter of hours, I will make that my very first request. I have never seen or heard of any idea that would be more beneficial to our incredible countries. President Donald J. Trump. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang joined Trump's China delegation as a last-minute addition after Trump personally called him following media coverage of his absence. Bloomberg Huang flew to Alaska to board Air Force One after Trump reached out directly. CNBC. Trump landed in Beijing today, May 13, 2026, accompanied by Elon Musk, Jensen Huang, and a delegation of top U.S. executives for a 36-hour summit with Xi Jinping, covering the war in the Middle East, tariffs, AI development, and Taiwan. The names on this list are not random. They are the exact network Whitney Webb has been documenting. Larry Fink of BlackRock, who Webb has documented, was Trump's economic advisor during COVID and whom she describes as the money behind the administration. Elon Musk, whose Tesla has massive manufacturing operations in China, and who Webb has described as a central example of Silicon.
Look at this picture with Trump's Eric behind him. You got Elon Musk. I mean, these people, don't fool yourself. They were excited. I mean, they were just like, you do videos, they're like, oh, I'm going to China. I'm going to meet Xi Jinping. They were so excited. And they've been bullshitting America. China's evil. Communism is evil. Fascism is evil. Doesn't look like it, buddy. I mean, these people were excited. Why? Because what did China represent to them? Money. And that's what a corporation is. It's focused on money. Corporations don't care about people. They don't care about American citizens. They don't care about people. They don't care about ethics. You go to these business schools, they don't teach ethics. They care about money. And that money's going to be power. And that money's going to be funneled more and more to the top 1%. And this is Donald Trump, our nationalist. He's reverted right back. The same with the Democrats. I'm not saying much different. But anyway, hey, Pansy, I see you. Spartan Sadekar, I see you too.
Valley figures with deep Chinese business interests while publicly positioning themselves as fighting China. Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, whose chips are at the center of the AI race and whose company has been pushing for access to the Chinese market, web values at $50 billion. The White House described the visit as intended to facilitate dialogue on trade barriers, AI development, and geopolitical stability. Webb's argument is that this framing, American business.
I want you to just pause this. As much as Donald Trump and the MAGA cult label Iran as evil, autocratic, dictator, you don't think that that could easily be labeled with China? No, I don't have a problem with China. It is what it is. But I've always said my philosophy, you have to work on China from a defensive position. Number one, like I said, I would never allow the Chinese to become American citizens. But I just want to let that settle in. We're going to war with Iran because Iran is this evil dictatorship. You don't think China has any similarity? Well, what is China? This friendly democracy? Like, what does it mean anymore? And then it's like, no, we only have problems with autocratic governments. But wait a minute, we want Greenland. Greenland's technically our friend. We don't have morals anymore. This is like a corporation. But if you think about it, for whatever the dialogue you hear propaganda, why we're going, they have nuclear weapons. Well, China does too. But I'm saying you can't make a reasonable argument that for the same reasons, if it's justified for us to go to war with Iran, we technically should be going to war with China. I mean, the same type of political ideology, autocrat, enemy of America, like all this stuff. So we're going to go bomb Iran, but we're going to kiss ass to China. Why do I think is the main difference? Two reasons. One, and they really come the same, meaning power. One, China's powerful. But two, China's got a lot of money that they're going to give us. And money and power are the same thing. That's probably the big difference. We're not going there. Why are we going to North Korea? Because that would also light up Russia and China. So again, power. But if you use your logic of what Fox News and MAGA is feeding you, we've got to go with war with Iran. They're an evil regime. It's autocratic. It's a dictatorship. They got nuclear weapons. I don't know. I mean, I could check the box for China. You know, China, yeah, 差不多一样的后期，我们应该走. So why? Well, because China has a couple things that Iran doesn't. They do have a shitload of money. I've seen it. These corporations make a ton of money. And China's more powerful, much more powerful. So maybe in America, we really don't have ethics. It's kind of like the bully. I'm going to beat you up because I'm bigger than you. But I'm not going to beat you up because you're pretty strong. No ethics. And so what does that mean for other countries? They better get their nuclear weapons ready because in America, we really don't have ethics. It's just the laws of the jungle with America turning into.
Leaders opening up China for American interests obscures what is actually happening. She has documented extensively that these corporations have had deep ties to China for decades, that the China threat narrative being used to justify AI surveillance build-out at home is being promoted by the same people with.
So I'll answer the question. Ponza said the TMC. So it's interesting. The TSMC accounts, and the Taiwan stock market is booming. Taiwan's a pretty cool. I live there. Taiwan's a cool place to live. So the TMC, that accounts, I believe it could be, don't quote me, it could account for literally 60% of the Taiwanese stock market. It's huge. Now, part of the reason why they opened up, where'd you say? They opened up in Arizona and Texas. They've also opened plants in Japan, Germany, the city of Dresden. Part of the reason was the quid pro quo, where Trump is like, hey, you need to start spreading the wealth a little bit. But that is a powerhouse. But I always come back and people always say, we don't have time to talk about it. Like, we have to protect Taiwan. Again, we really don't care about the Taiwanese people. It's all about money because of the chip manufacturing. Well, why don't we just do the chip manufacturing in America? It's too expensive. But the point being is, why don't we do it, though? We always say America is the best. We could do it in America. It just would be really expensive. For the same reason I've said before, we're to the point that this ecosystem of manufacturing in China or Taiwan It's no longer about cheap labor. It used to be. It's no longer. It's gotten to the point now that China and Taiwan are able to manufacture high tech at such a low cost for high tech, but they have the skill sets already ingrained in the ecosystem. You just can't move that. I mean, sure, if it's really, I don't know, you could say if it's low tech like textiles, then you could go to Bangladesh or India, but don't fool yourself. What's happening? And China is going to replace TMC in mainland China. It's gonna be it. So don't fool yourself. We're not doing business anymore in China or Taiwan just because it's low labor. These products are becoming more and more high tech. It's just we're doing them there because it's still cost effective, number one, because their ecosystem is already built in to be able to do that. We could do it in America. It just would be too expensive. Again, for the corporations, it is what it is. Like I said, this system eventually, just like Donald Trump's promises to bring back manufacturing to America, not going to happen, people. Will not happen.
Major Chinese business interests, and that the transnational corporation thesis, first articulated to Congress in the early 1970s, describes exactly what you are watching on the tarmac in Beijing today.
I think it matters. He's the apprentice host of this dystopian reality we're living. To be the public face, the reality TV face of all of this. I don't think he's making the decisions.
I don't either.
And in the art of the deal.
Yeah, I look at Donald Trump like most people don't realize, but 50% of CEOs started out in sales. It's sales. It really is. Why? Because it's front office, it's revenue generating sales. And I look at Donald Trump, this is not negative, but what he promised, he's not doing. And he's a salesman. But I look at him like the CEO and he's the salesman. And who is he taking his orders from? He's taking his orders from the corporations, from the globalist elites, because Donald Trump knows that the number one reason his job is he needs to get this economy moving. People need to make money. Not necessarily the American citizens, because the American citizens have been getting burnt for decades and decades, but the top 1% want their money. So I look at him more like a CEO, less as a president, and that's his background too. He's very much into sales, which is the perfect background and resume for politics, to sell the campaign from a salesman. Again, I say negative stuff about him, but it's not like I'm saying anything about the Democrats. And that's where they got you by the balls. That's another reason why my story doesn't want to come out, because they always keep saying the solution is voting. Voting's not going to work, people. And that's why they get very anger and hostility when Americans leave, because leaving America is an option. It is an option because you don't pay your taxes. But again, I could say negative about Donald Trump. What are you going to do? Vote for Gavin Newsom? All right, have fun with that one.
That whole idea comes from Roy Cohn, his mentor. Again, go back to my books out almost 4 years ago, which was all about the whole idea of Art of the Deal is backdoor deals with shady organized crime figures about how to make more money for the billionaires.
Right. Well, my point
what do you think Trump's deals are about? Kushner comes and is like, tank your whole base and make voters hate you in the middle of a major affordability crisis and invade Iran, please. And Trump is like, oh, you say clap, I will clap like a seal.
Okay,
to
but
Jared Kushner,
so
to his son-in-law. Do you think this is the guy that's really running shit and he's like in charge of what's happening in his government? He works for.
Yeah, I believe, and I've said this before, I believe Trump is either compromised or bribed by certain elements, to include Israel. And they said, hey, part of the deal, you're taking out Iran. Why? Because probably that, in terms of Israel, that is probably a worthwhile engagement for Israel, not for America. And I believe Donald Trump knew this was part of the deal, meaning he's going to become president. And what did I keep saying about the politicians? Why don't they care about me? Am I a donor? They don't work for you. They don't work for me. They work for their donors. The same thing with Donald Trump. As much as he says, I'm going to serve the American people. Now, he needs to keep the ship floating. You know, this is where the worry of a revolution or civil war comes up. We get it. But ultimately, our politicians don't serve the people. They serve the donors. And I think he had a margin call on them and said, all right, it's time. It's time for you to take out Iran. But if any MAGA people said, Going to war with Iran, this is exactly what I voted for. This is exactly what he campaigned on. This is America first. This is where MAGA has turned into a cult. It is what it is. And I'm telling you, there are some dumb MAGA people now, really some dumb MAGA cult people that I think they'll just do whatever Donald Trump tells them to do.
The transnational, let's call it a corporation. That's really what it is.
Right.
And what's telling, I mean, I really like to point out this quote to people because I think it's very revealing in how long this has been going on. In the early 1970s, Samuel Pisar, who's Anthony Blinken's stepfather, but also was Robert Maxwell's super best bud and lawyer and close friend, and part of that whole mob nexus of which Maxwell was, part and helped build. So the same Epstein network we're talking about, but well before Epstein, obviously, because this is the 70s. Samuel Pisar testified before Congress about the rise of what he called the trans-ideological corporation. And what he described that as is the multinational Western corporation is going into joint ventures with all of the state-owned companies, not all of them.
She's right. That's exactly what I was saying about it, where these multinational companies, American globalists, they know that the only way to survive in the future, they are going to have to invest and do deals in the non-Western world, even though the political ideology in these non-Western countries are totally against all this bullshit propaganda that's preached. Remember the DEI, communism is bad, fascism is bad, like all this stuff. That's all these non-Western countries. It's all about the money. And then we're going in that direction, but you're going to see it more and more. And I keep saying, once you're at that stage where there's billions and billions of dollars, the concept of state patriotism is so outdated to these people that they would look at me like retarded. They were like, do you know who I am? Well, just because I have an American passport and I was born in America, and we don't even know who the shareholders of these companies are. In fact, many of these companies may not even be American citizens. We don't know anything. But back to Pansy, we always like to say America is a colony of Israel, but the EU, Europe, you guys are American colonists. I mean, it's an American colony in EU.
But a lot of the state-owned companies in communist countries. And what they're doing is creating an economic structure that is making the nation state irrelevant. Right. And that this is what is running the world now.
And you were saying this is back in the 70s?
And he told this in the early 70s, and he told this in front of the U.S. Congress. And someone was like, so do you think this is bad? He was like, not necessarily, I mean, it's the most in-your-face thing ever. This is the Nixon era. After Nixon, who came in? It was Jimmy.
What do I keep saying? There's two trends that are unstoppable. It's unstoppable. As much as I talk about nationalism, this is where I think biblical prophecies are going to happen. Because as much as I say this, I don't think anything's going to change. There's two trends, globalism and technology combined. And I truly believe they are unstoppable until there's going to be something like biblical prophecies, like the end of time or a World War III, something. They're unstoppable. As much as I preach nationalism, it's going to be outdated. The level of exponential forward growth of globalism. I mean, I don't know how old you are. I mean, look at the world, how globalism that we become. And globalism is not so bad. I mean, look at me living in China. You can learn stuff, but globalism has been increasing on an exponential rate, and technology is unstoppable. Even though I'm a supporter of crypto, there's a lot of stuff where you're thinking, oh my God, like you're starting to imagine. I keep saying about when I was in high school and I had one classmate who was a biblical scholar, and he talked about the mark of the beast, when you're going to get chipped in your hand. I said, no way. I don't know now. It might happen. Like this cryptocurrency, we are all going to be locked in on this matrix technology, globalism. But eventually, the only thing that's going to defeat this system that gets more powerful is something, like I said, like a biblical prophecy. But I really think this is it's unstoppable, people. I really don't think anything's gonna stop it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm happy to admit it, but it just continues. Globalism and technology, it just seems to be unstoppable.
Jimmy Carter, right? Or no, there was Gerald Ford in there, but he wasn't elected, and I think Rumsfeld served in his government the first time, right? So it's obvious who he was. But then you have Carter, who's full of trilateral commission people, basically his whole administration run by that. You have Reagan, which is really Papa Bush, that does Iran-Contra in the Franklin scandal, and like all of these Promise, all of these insane crimes. BCCI, which actually started in the 70s. With the CIA back then. And then, the 90s, you have Bush Sr., Clinton. But I mean, it's a constant progression of this club.
Right.
All these politicians are owned by them. And, back in the 70s, people thought leaders actually ran things. And then this guy told Congress, no, it's these corporations, and they fused with the corporations of the communist bloc. And this is what's running the world now. I think
so. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Well, I think if you look at it, it's very obvious that's the case. I think the whole idea that multipolarity is a real thing, that like China and Russia offer any real challenge to this end game that the West is having of going to technocracy. It's very obvious that they've all adopted it themselves, and China's the model for it. China's going to save us from a model it helped perfect. No.
Right.
And Russia's full steam ahead on CBDCs and digital ID and all of this stuff. Like, you're not escaping it by cheering on foreign countries that you think are nominal U.S. adversaries. And it's a convenient narrative for building infrastructure of the prison, or if you want to use Catherine's term, the digital control grid. Like right now, all this the whole narrative about why we have to build AI mass surveillance in the United States and fill it with autonomous lethal drones is because China.
Right.
We have to beat China in the AI race. But the people that are building in Silicon Valley have tons of business interests in China. I mean, Elon Musk is a perfect example, but also Google, also Microsoft, like all of these guys. It's the same mob. Like, why was Epstein on the very important Microsoft Russia trip in 1998? And he's pictured in Russian classrooms with top Microsoft executives, presumably looking for young talent, with Nathan Myhrvold, who's the chief technology officer of Microsoft. I mean, I don't know. That is the transnet ideological corporation right there.
What you just heard is Webb laying out how Robert Maxwell came to the United States specifically to front for Rothschild banking interests, how Epstein inherited that portfolio, and how the same transnational network spanning Russia, Israel, China, and the United States has been operating above national governments since at least the 1970s. What comes next is Webb connecting that directly to the people on Air Force One with Trump today. Why the China threat narrative is being used to justify building a surveillance prison at home, and why she says this is not a trade trip, but the transnational corporation operating in plain sight.
But Larry Fink advised Trump's entire economic response to COVID.
Right.
Stephen Mnuchin called him like 19 times in like a very short span.
Treasury.
It's like, Larry, what do I do? Oh, okay, I destroy the economy. Gotcha. So you can buy it. Yeah. I mean, all the fear mongering about communist China. China has a ton of billionaires. They're an authoritarian capitalist society.
Right.
They don't hate capitalism. Are you kidding me? Yeah, well, I think the Epstein files have been good for revealing, at least to some people, the nature of how things really function, and that there's a group operating above the visible group, but there could easily be groups operating above that. We just don't have the visibility into it.
Right.
But stop thinking that this is something you're going to resolve only at the ballot box. If you want to spend one day every 4 years voting because you think it's important, I don't care. Right. That's fine. But if you think that's the only thing you need to do, I really don't agree with you. I think there's a lot that everyone needs to do personally, like try and shore up their local communities, or like develop, if you don't want to participate in this.
So we talked about this before. Voting is meaningless. I would say if you're going to do anything, but you're going to see an absolute stomp in the face by Washington, D.C. to you, and that is, if there is ever a rise of state politics, I mean, let's face it, the governors, there's no state politics. They do what Washington, D.C. tells them. They're all minions. But if all of a sudden And that's what I keep saying. If there's ever a time where I would tell American citizens either leave or flood a red state, just one state. But if you flooded that state where that governor and those state politics started pushing back against Washington, D.C., you would see charges of sedition come out like left and right from Washington, D.C. on anyone operating in that state. Why? They know that's a big threat. Why? That's the only way you're going to change the system. I mean, you're going to have to leave the system. There's no changing. But if you really think that you're going to get in there and say, well, I don't like the Republicans, I'm going to vote for the Democrats and back and forth. Are you kidding me? That's how the plan is to make you feel. It's kind of like the same thing. It's sort of like Pepsi and Coca-Cola being owned by the same corporation, the same parent corporation. And, you know, one lowers the price, one does this. But at the end of the day, you will still either buy Pepsi or Coca-Cola. Well, then the grand corporation doesn't really care. They're always going to get your money. I'd say the only future in politics, if you really want to make a change, is state politics. The reason why you don't see it a big deal, it's never really been done before. Why? Because 99% plus of all state politics is follow whatever Washington, D.C. is. So it's not a problem. But if there's ever a time where the governor starts pushing back sense of independence, you're going to see, first and foremost, from the FBI, throwing the hammer down. There's going to be arrests there, arrests on sedition or whatever, or leave the country. But like I said, for these people who think they're still going to vote, and this system has been bought and sold before the day you were born.
Digital currency crap, build local community and try and develop your own parallel economy with people close to you. I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot of easy solutions to these problems. And that's because for many decades, people have not spoken up when they should have. And things were swept under the rug. And then, back in the day, people were killed to keep, certain information from becoming public. I think now they just can algorithmically bury it or smear people or delete people's accounts and disappear them online now that all this.
Yeah, make it known. This will. My platform has been censored unbelievably. Everyone knows it. If my platform ever picks up, remember the first one is they ignore you or they censor you or they bury you. But if it ever gets known, then all of a sudden, all these, it could be government entities, media entity, it's going to be an absolute smear campaign against me. Because it's like, hello, you've ignored me now for years and years and years. And now you finally decide to comment because now we're going to assume this, my social media is now up where now there's pressure on media and politicians saying, why are you not talking about David? And then all of a sudden the smear campaign will happen and say, he is a bad actor. He's this, he's that. All of a sudden it's like, interesting. Why didn't you ever talk to him before? Why didn't you ever do that? Because stage one is why even engage in it? First, censor, ignore, just silence, and let it just be buried and go away. But if it doesn't, then the next will be smear. And this is, again, for a military veteran. I just think, like I said, it's going to get worse and worse. Let's finish. Only a couple more minutes.
Courses online. It's a little bit of a different game. But yeah, it's, people will have to make hard choices with what's coming. And we should be talking about, people should openly acknowledge that instead of being like, don't listen to those negative Nancys. This can be solved by voting for J.D. Vance in 2028.
Trump is in Beijing right now with Elon Musk, Larry Fink, Jensen Huang, Tim Cook, and the heads of Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, Boeing, and Qualcomm. He is asking Xi to open up China so these businessmen can work their magic. Webb has been saying for years that the people running the AI race narrative, the same people telling you China is the enemy that justifies mass domestic surveillance and autonomous weapons, have billions of dollars in Chinese business interests. Elon Musk's Tesla is built in China. Microsoft and Google have deep Chinese ties. Larry Fink was advising Trump's economic response to COVID, while BlackRock was simultaneously managing Chinese state assets. This is not a trade negotiation. This is the transnational corporation doing what Samuel Pisar told Congress it would do in the early 1970s. The nation-state is being made irrelevant. You are watching it happen on Air Force One. Subscribe, and we will keep bringing.
Yeah, and that's it. Like I said, when people say China's the enemy, I always say this: before you try to convince the American people that China's the enemy, try to convince the American corporations, which the politicians work for. But we keep going back and forth. So let's end the video here because we're talking about corruption. Remember, from leadership standpoint, corruption starts with ethics. So the point is what are the ethics in America? Remember, I already told you the story in 2010. I laughed. I said, what is America? We're having a healthy debate with my West Point classmate. And I'm like, what is it? Make money and have fun. And I said, that's not a long-term solution. But what is our ethics? We really don't have any. They were normally based on Christianity. But what is America now? America is no longer a Christian nation. Christianity has been long dead. Who is attacking Christianity? Is it the Jews? Is it Israel? I don't know. I'm not going to confirm or deny that. It's worth a debate, though. It's definitely worth looking into. But Christianity is dead. But then you look at the corporations, and these corporations, they don't care about anything except money. That's it. It's all about money. And for the same dumb MAGA people who think it's justified to go to war with Iran, that same logic, we technically should be at war with China. We're not going to war with China. Why? Because I go back to my point. Our corporations and banks are already heavily invested in China, and we're making a ton of money. And oh, by the way, China's very powerful. We don't want to get at wars with. We're a bully. We like to pick on weak people. Bullies don't like to pick on strong people. They like to pick on weak people. So all this stuff. So anyway, where does that leave us in America? I keep going back to the same thing. People always say, all right, Dave, you talk about civil war, what should we do? Sooner or later, when the system gets worse, for many Americans, it's not worse yet, meaning it's not worse enough. When it does, I keep saying, remember this, you have three choices. You will leave America. Many Americans are going to be, many Americans are going to say, I never thought I'd say this, but we're planning to leave America. Two, you better learn how to be a farmer and live off the grid. Some Americans are going to say, we are moving to the countryside and I'm getting off the grid. Or three, this voting in Washington, D.C., meaning political, federal politics, done. And hopefully, Americans, I don't know what that state will be yet. Well, it's probably going to be one of the red states, but a certain red state is going to really start showing. And people are going to start flooding there. And I keep saying, you're going to see a new form of leadership, and I think it's going to be at a governor level. And that's the only politics that I would put myself behind. But if you want to vote in the next midterms and vote for the Democrats, vote for the Republicans, and, I have fun with that. It's not going to go anywhere, but we'll see where it goes. Until then, this is David Baumblatt from Terrabin Leadership. And just remember, as a military veteran on the FBI terrorist watch list, the entire government's silent about me. And do I really look at the government as being evil and corrupt and no ethics? I don't know. I've run into many American citizens on X, and the comments that they've told me, it's been very unpatriotic. Been very it's just been abhorrent. So then I ask yourself, you don't think it's going to happen to you? So what are the ethics in America? I don't think we have any more ethics. So guess what? All about the money. And if you got the money, I guess congratulations to you. If not, good luck. It's going to get difficult because just like the corporation has no care about the workers, I think American people really don't care about other people. It's all about the money. Until then, David Baumblatt from Terrabin Leadership, telling the Patriots, lead to victory.